recording. Welcome. This is Kitty Boitnott of Teachers in Transition and Boitnott Coaching. And today I have a very special guest with me. This is Tammy Buckaloo, who has been working with me for several months now. I'll have to have her tell you exactly when she started, but she got some good news this week, and I wanted to have her have an opportunity to share her experience of working with teachers in transition, as well as what her outcome has been just recently. So Tammy, welcome, and thank you for being willing to do this case study with me. I think it's probably been more than a year, maybe even closer to 2 years since I did the last case study. So I've been lazy in that arena. And when I got your email this week, you were so excited. I thought I need to capture that while it's still fresh. And you're still very, very excited about your good news. So before we get into the good news, if you would please tell us a little bit about yourself. And in particular, what were the challenges that you were facing when you found Teachers in Transition and decided to bite the bullet and start working with me and Teachers in Transition?
Sure. So I had been teaching, this is my 19th year, and I joined up about a year ago. So I had been teaching about 18 years in the elementary classroom in a couple school systems, and had kind of come to the point where it was time for me to move on to something new in my career. And I had been searching for jobs for about 2 years before I found Teachers in Transition. And I knew that I was doing something wrong, but I did not know what. I knew that I wasn't getting calls for applications to have interviews. I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't figure out what. And there was such copious amounts of information online and books and things like that. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know what was helpful and what was useless and not helpful. And I just came to a point where I had started to feel very little confidence that I had anything to contribute to an employer or anything outside of education. And I didn't know how to communicate the skills that I had. And I'd come to a point where I just felt like I didn't have skills. And so that's when I found Teachers in Transition, and I said, this is exactly what I need.
Good. And I'm glad you found me. I was happy that you had an opportunity to work with me, and I thoroughly enjoyed working with you during the time. It's hard to believe it. It was about a year ago.
It was.
It was in spring of last year.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the answer, the instruction, or the particular inspiration that you discovered that began to turn things around for you?
Well, the first few lessons in the program have a lot to do with your own feelings and thoughts about risk and what you are good at, what your passions are, and things like that. And those were really powerful for me because I had come to a point where I didn't feel like I had anything to contribute. And I didn't think that I was good at anything outside of education. And even if I was, I didn't know how to tell somebody how a skill translated. And so those first few lessons really allowed me to reflect on the things that I could do well objectively and figure out how to pursue things that I was good at, and also kind of taught me to take a little bit more risk than I was previously willing to do. But it also, the biggest thing for me was my thinking. My thinking was in my way, and the feelings of being trapped and stuck and not having much to contribute were the things that were in my way. And those first few lessons, I think, were the most changing for me because it transformed my thinking and got myself out of my way.
That is excellent. That's exactly what I intend to help people get themselves and their old stinking thinking about how little they have to offer. You know, when I first started this business, I was focused on how many teachers I had heard say over the years, I'm just a teacher. Like there wasn't any value in being a teacher. And it's because I think the skills that teachers have are so intrinsic and so innate that they're hard to quantify a lot of times. And without someone objective who's sitting off as an objective third party observing, helping you articulate what your skills and aptitudes and strengths are, it can feel overwhelming, and you can begin to feel like you don't have anything to offer. And you're not the only one who's ever felt that way, I guarantee. It's also interesting, as you were talking, you worked your way through the original Jumpstart Your Job Search program.
Mm-hmm.
And the first module in that version of the program is the challenge of every job seeker, the number one challenge of every job seeker. And the number one challenge is figuring out what it is that you want and what it is that you would be good at. In the Jumpstart Your Job Search 2.0 program that I rolled out in January of this year, the number one module, I still have the other questions in the modules, but the first module is about the mindset of the job seeker, and how, as a new job seeker, whether you're a teacher or from another career background, and I work mostly with mid-career professionals, wherever you may be coming from, whatever line of work you may be in, the most important thing is to develop the mindset, the growth mindset that it takes to break out of your comfort zone and be willing to look at yourself objectively, and to take the assessments, and to learn what your strengths are, and to figure out how to better articulate the skills that you have to offer in a separate marketplace from education. So what were some of the specific results that you achieved while you were working through the program?
Well, first of all, I got a LinkedIn page that actually works for me. I had LinkedIn before, but it wasn't doing me any favors as far as looking for jobs. I think if people, they would just see a picture of me and that I was a teacher, which they already had information about that when they had my resume. So finding out how to actually use LinkedIn effectively was one of the big hurdles. Also, learning how to correctly write a resume to show how skills as a teacher translate into other career choices was a huge step for me, because I didn't know how to word that. I knew it needed to be done, but I didn't really know how to do it. I knew before I didn't have an effective resume, and I didn't realize how important LinkedIn was. And once I learned that, now I have an effective resume and I have a LinkedIn page that works for me. And even though the position I'm going to now doesn't actually have to do with what I was applying for with my LinkedIn page, it still, I think, shows better some of the skills that I have than I previously did. And so if I wanted to do some freelance work or something on the side, now I have a LinkedIn page that's going to reflect some of these other skills that I have. So those are kind of the, the nuts and bolts of looking for a job and having those things. But I think the biggest thing I gained was just the confidence that I needed to take the risks. And it was those risks that I took that led me to the position that I'm going to now. That was the biggest thing for me. I probably could have picked up a book anywhere and figured out how to do a resume, but regaining the confidence that I needed to be able to go out and say, I can do this, and there are things that I have to contribute, I think was one of the biggest things for me that I needed, because after 2 years of hearing nothing, I had no confidence left.
Right. Well, and you could pick up a resume book, but very few of them actually address the connection between what teachers do and what the rest of the world does. And HR directors and hiring managers in the corporate world or in the business world don't understand in any way, shape, or form the language of teachers any more than most teachers understand the language of business, unless they've taken some business courses. And so the danger that a teacher runs into if they write a resume based on their teaching experience without some kind of coaching from somebody who's been in their shoes and understands where they're coming from is that they'll write a teacher sounding resume and send it in thinking that the HR director will connect the dots and figure out, oh, she's a teacher, so she could learn how to do this and this, and there's a connection between what she's been doing and what we're doing. And instead what they're doing is, oh, she's a teacher, wonder why she applied for this job. So
Yep.
the importance of learning how to translate your skills into the language of the job description are extremely important. Otherwise, you're wasting your time, and nobody's going to take you seriously. So what about any other benefits that you might have experienced while you were working with me, either in the financial or emotional or physical or spiritual realm? Anything there?
Well, almost immediately after I started the program, I felt far more at peace with my decision to seek alternative employment. It's a scary thing when you've been doing something for almost 20 years to think about leaving it. And then there's always that guilt of, oh, it's for the kids. And, you feel bad about it. Like, why can't I just make myself happy with this? Or, so there was a lot of anxiety about leaving and finding something different to do. And just almost immediately, I felt far more at peace with that decision, to realize that it was a good thing that I was doing for myself and for my family. And I felt like the world at large, I feel like I'm going to be able to contribute a little bit better to the world
No,
as
you will.
who I am now.
Yeah.
And so calming that anxiety was one of the first benefits that I had. But I'll say that this new position that I'm going to now, it's going to give me a lot more opportunity for spiritual and personal growth, as well as opportunities to pursue projects that I have just put on hold for years, while I've been trying to keep up with the work and try to get all the things done that I'm supposed to be doing. So having time now that's going to allow me to pursue other things, I think is going to be a huge thing. But I will say, just having that peace has been so beneficial. And even though, for a long time I didn't have a job, and it wasn't like a 1 week fix, like you have a new job in a week kind of thing. It
Never
is a
gonna
longer
be that
process.
fast.
Exactly. It's
It takes-
not an overnight process. And even though it took a while, I felt at peace about it the whole time. And I just felt calmer about it. And the anxiety wasn't there anymore. And I just kept reminding myself that it's a process and I'm going to get there. And I felt much better about it.
Was being part of a group part of maybe helping you to feel more at peace too, do you think?
I do think so. When you know that other people are going through the same thing you are, and that they're having the same feelings you are, and they're facing the same challenges that you are, it really helps to say, okay, I'm not alone in this, that
Right.
there are other people that are going through this. And you're also learning from the experiences that they're having as well. And you're sharing your experiences with them, so they're able to learn from you. So just like working in a team at work is much better than working by yourself as far as getting that experience. It's the same thing is when you're working with the others and you're interacting with them. It helps to have those relationships where you're helping one another and learning from each other.
Right. Well, and each group has developed their own little community. I know your group developed a sense of community. The group that I'm working with right now has also done the same. In fact, they've shared email addresses with one another so that they could communicate offline in between the coaching calls, and it's been lovely to see that happen as well. And I do feel like the group setting, knowing that you're not the only one who feels the way you feel, makes a huge difference and makes you feel like, oh, it's not me, I'm not crazy. And the idea of feeling guilty about leaving, I think every teacher I've ever worked with had to work through that. The good news is that does pass, but the bad news is you have to work your way through that before you can make peace with it, because a lot of teachers have been made to feel like there must be something wrong, that you can't make yourself happy being a
I
teacher.
agree. Yeah.
There's no higher calling than being a teacher. Why can't you be happy? But it's not for everybody, and it doesn't meet the need that everybody has. And in your case, if I could say, with your creative talents, I just feel like there are going to be so many other things that you can do in addition to the job that you've gotten, the projects that you've put on hold, the things that you've wanted to do, that I know right now during the pandemic, they have to sort of take a back seat because they require people getting together. But the events that you put together, the celebrations that you have sponsored, just a phenomenal creative streak that I hope that you'll continue to
I hope so.
as you go along. If somebody were to ask you, do you know anybody who could help me figure out how to leave teaching, or you heard somebody complain that they just wish they knew something else that they could be doing, would you be willing to recommend me to somebody who might be in the position of wanting to start a new job search?
Absolutely. I could not have done it had I not gone through the program. But not just that, I mean, you can find career coaches everywhere. I think the difference here with you especially is you're knowledgeable and experienced. Absolutely. And you've made the transition yourself, which is huge because so many coaches don't really know what it's like to go from, the education world is very different from the business world, and you've made that transition yourself. But you also have that focus on the spiritual and emotional aspects of the search and understanding how to support that. So in addition to excellent advice about resumes and LinkedIn and interviewing and things like that, you also have that focus on what's going to make you happy and what's going to fulfill you. And I think that that's so important, especially, most of us that go into teaching, we are looking for that fulfillment. We want to reach out to others. We want to help others. And so having somebody who understands those desires that we have and finding out how to make that work in a job search it's invaluable. There's no way you can put a price on that. It's just so important.
Thank you for saying that. I do believe that life is too short for you to be stuck in a job that doesn't make you happy anymore. And while teaching is an honorable profession, it has also become one of the most difficult professions in that the expectations never stop.
Right.
You're being asked to do more and more and give more and more. And you get less and less reward for it. And I don't mean just financial compensation, although that's a problem in and of itself. But when you have so many students who take for granted that you're going to be there, whether they're engaged and wanting to learn themselves, you have parents who don't always appreciate the efforts that you're making and want to defend why their kids haven't done the work or haven't performed to a certain level. And somehow you're at fault because the kid hasn't stepped up to do his or her part. That gets old after not a very long period of time. And unfortunately, more and more of our teachers are facing that kind of pressure. I don't know if that was part of what was going on in your world or not, but I do hear from a lot of my teachers that in general, they still love their kids, but they're frustrated by the fact that their kids don't value the education that the teacher's trying to bring to them. And it's hard. And this pandemic period has been hard. You're teaching from home. You try to reach out to your kids virtually or however you can, but there's no accountability, right? If your grades are over, so the kids know, I don't have to turn in that homework. That assignment doesn't mean anything. And I don't know that it's wrong to not hold them accountable, given that not every kid has Wi-Fi access or a computer at home that they can do their work from. I think that was probably as good a call as the superintendent could make. On the other hand, if you're teaching your heart out and still creating lessons every week and still trying to be there and show up at 110% level, and the kids have the attitude of, the year's over, why should I bother to listen to you? It becomes even more problematic. So, well, I can't tell you how excited I am for you about your job, and I don't know how much you might want to tell us about it, whether you want to tell a little bit about why you were so excited this week without going into a lot of detail while you get all the ends tied up. But if whatever you'd like to share about that, feel free to do that now.
Sure. So I'm actually going to be taking a job at my church. And we have two of our office employees that are retiring, and we're combining their jobs into one job. And I'm taking over that job. So I will be helping with the program coordination. So I'll be working with our Christian education. I'll be working with our missions. I'll be working with our congregational care. And those types of are programs that are doing the work of God in our community and in our church. So I'll be doing a lot of actually working with curriculum and events. So it's kind of a lot of things that I'm already wanting to do.
Yeah,
exactly. I'll also be taking over the secretarial work that's involved, which they were very excited because teachers are so highly organized. And I've been at the church for a pretty long time already, so they already knew that I was highly organized and had systems for everything because they've seen me put together Vacation Bible School and stuff. So they already knew that they were getting a good deal there as far as the organization of running an office. And so I'm really excited because when I started my job search, I was hoping that I was going to get a job that was going to allow me the time and nights and weekends to be able to do some of the things that I felt that God was calling me to do. And teaching didn't really allow that because I had so much work to do that I was working every night and every weekend to try to just keep up. And so my hope was just to be able to have something that gave me a little bit more time to do these things. And now that is my job. And I don't have to try to carve out these little spaces. Now my job is to do the things that God was calling me to do. And it just couldn't have worked better.
I'm so glad.
It was, it just, the way that it happened and the timing could not have been better. And so I'm very excited to start that. And I feel so much at peace. There's still a couple things that need to be worked out. There's a pay cut, so I'll have to make that up. But I just feel confident that it's going to get taken care of. And I feel like I'm going to figure it out, and it's, it's going to be okay. And I'm going to be doing something that I love and that I've been called to do. So I'm going to have a lot more peace in my life than I have in the last several years. So I'm really excited to start that. And you don't understand when you're going through something, why you're going through it, and why, for those 2 years when I was throwing resumes at the wall, hoping something would stick and getting no calls, you don't understand why you're going through that until you're finished going through it and you're out on the other end and you say, that's why, because the perfect position was out there. It just wasn't available yet.
Wasn't ready for you yet. And you had to go through 3 years of waiting for it and getting ready for it.
Yeah. And that's, I think, had this opened up several years ago, I don't think I would have been willing to even apply for it because I would have said, oh, that's a huge pay cut. I can't afford that. Whereas now I feel like I'm much more creative and saying, well, I could do this too. And I could do this on the side, and I can also do this. And those are thoughts that I hadn't had.
No, I'm confident you can figure out how to make up for the pay difference. So I am excited for you. I am over the moon, and I look forward to having you join us on our next call this coming week so you can share with the group. They'll be thrilled for you and thrilled to hear your story. And thank you for being willing to share this today. For whoever may be hearing it and need that extra little push to find the kind of help that they need so that they can create the space for themselves to push themselves outside of their comfort zone and find their value, which is what you've done. So congratulations.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me
so much.
And thank you for everything.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. So thank you.